Motivation is one of the most celebrated words in our culture today. It is everywhere, on posters, in videos, in quotes shared on social media. People chase it as if it were the secret ingredient to success. They wake up in the morning searching for it. They scroll endlessly looking for that one line or that one speech that will light a fire within them. Motivation feels exciting. It feels powerful. It feels like the boost we need when we are tired or stuck. But if we are honest with ourselves, we also know that motivation doesn't last. The same video that fired you up today may feel dull tomorrow. The same quote that made you want to run through walls yesterday might not even move you next week. Motivation is like a burst of energy. It burns brightly but fades just as quickly. And if your entire pursuit of success relies only on the presence of motivation, then you will constantly find yourself stopping and starting, always waiting for the next push. This is why so many people never follow through. They confuse being inspired with being consistent, but the truth is, consistency doesn't come from motivation. It comes from discipline. Discipline is different. Discipline is not about feeling good. It is about doing what is necessary. It doesn't rely on emotions, it relies on decisions. Motivation may get you started on a Monday morning, but it is discipline that gets you out of bed on the cold, dark Tuesday when no one is watching and no one is cheering you on. Discipline is the quiet force that pushes you forward when motivation has disappeared. It is the promise you make to yourself, and the promise you keep no matter how you feel. And that is why discipline is permanent, while motivation is temporary. Think about it for a moment. Every great person you admire, every athlete, every entrepreneur, every leader, has not been driven solely by motivation. They did not wake up every single day feeling inspired. What separated them was the ability to act regardless of feelings. They understood that feelings are fleeting, but habits are lasting. They chose discipline over motivation, and that made them unstoppable. Imagine an athlete training for the Olympics. Do you believe they feel motivated every single morning? Absolutely not. There are days they are sore, days they are tired, days they want to quit. But they lace up their shoes anyway. They step onto the track or into the gym anyway. That is discipline. That is what ensures progress long after the excitement of motivation has faded. Motivation is like a friend who visits when life is exciting. Discipline is like the loyal companion who stays when things get tough. Motivation whispers, do it when you feel ready. Discipline says, do it because it must be done. Motivation shows up when the conditions are perfect. Discipline shows up no matter the weather, no matter the mood, no matter the circumstances, and it is that kind of loyalty to your goals that creates unstoppable people. The danger of relying on motivation is that it makes success conditional. You are only moving forward when you feel like it, and that means your progress is inconsistent. Some days you work hard, other days you do nothing. Some weeks you feel unstoppable, other weeks you feel stuck. This cycle creates frustration, self-doubt, and eventually failure. But discipline eliminates the condition of feelings. Discipline doesn't care about moods. Discipline is about commitment, about following through because you decided that your goals matter more than your excuses. Motivation is easy to love because it feels good. Discipline, on the other hand, is harder because it demands sacrifice. It demands that you say no to comfort and yes to effort. It demands that you silence the voice in your head that says, not today. It requires you to act in alignment with your vision, even when your emotions try to pull you away. But that is exactly why discipline transforms lives. Because it is built on strength, on character, on integrity. It doesn't fade with your feelings, it grows stronger every time you use it. When you understand that discipline is permanent, you stop waiting for motivation to appear. You no longer wake up hoping to feel inspired. Instead, you create systems and routines that keep you moving forward regardless of how you feel. You schedule your workouts, you block out time to study, you stick to your commitments, and over time, those consistent actions compound into extraordinary results. That is why disciplined people succeed. They don't rely on chance or mood, they rely on habit and consistency. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two people who both decide they want to write a book. The first one is motivated, filled with excitement. They spend the first week writing page after page, but then motivation fades. The second person is disciplined. They commit to writing just one page every day, no matter how they feel. After a month, the first person has stopped completely, frustrated that their motivation is gone. The second person with discipline has 30 pages written. After a year, the disciplined person has a complete manuscript. The difference is not talent, not passion, but discipline. Because discipline produces progress even in the absence of motivation. Motivation is about emotions, and emotions are unpredictable. One moment you are fired up, the next moment you are drained. But discipline is about choices, and choices can be consistent. You can choose to show up even when you don't feel like it. You can choose to act in alignment with your vision, even when it is uncomfortable. And when you repeatedly make those choices, they hardwire into habits that define who you are. Discipline doesn't just create results, it creates identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who does what needs to be done, someone who cannot be stopped by moods or circumstances. That identity is what makes you unstoppable in life. Motivation makes promises it cannot keep. It tells you that you will always feel driven, that you will always have energy, that you will always be ready. But life doesn't work that way. There will be setbacks, disappointments, struggles, and moments of doubt. Motivation cannot carry you through those storms because it disappears when the skies turn dark. Discipline, however, is built for the storm. It is built to carry you through difficulty, to anchor you when life gets tough, to push you forward when every part of you wants to give up. Discipline is the muscle that grows stronger the more you use it, and unlike motivation, it doesn't abandon you. When you choose discipline over motivation, you begin to value consistency more than excitement. You begin to see that greatness is not built in moments of passion, but in years of persistence. You understand that one extraordinary day of motivation cannot match the power of years of disciplined effort. This shift in perspective changes everything. You no longer chase the high of motivation. You no longer wait for inspiration. You build the habits, the systems, and the mindset that make progress automatic. Every day you wake up, you have two voices competing in your head. One says, rest, wait, not today, maybe tomorrow. That is the voice of motivation gone missing. The other voice says, get up, keep going, you have a promise to keep. That is the voice of discipline. Which voice you obey will determine your future. The world is full of people who listened to the first voice, who waited for motivation to return and lost their chance at greatness. But those who listen to the second voice, those who live with discipline, they are the ones who achieve what others only dream of. Motivation is about the start. Discipline is about the finish. Motivation asks you to take the first step. Discipline demands that you keep walking until you reach the destination. Motivation is about the excitement of the beginning. Discipline is about the satisfaction of the result. That is why you must never mistake motivation for the answer. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a resident. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. And if you want to be unstoppable in life, you must build your foundation not on fleeting feelings but on unshakable discipline. There is a common trap that so many people fall into when they chase their dreams. They believe success requires grand gestures, massive action, and intense effort all at once. They think they need to work at full speed every single day, giving everything they have in one explosive burst of energy. And while intensity can feel powerful, it does not last. What truly creates greatness is not intensity, but consistency. It is not the big efforts once in a while that shape your future. It is the small, steady, disciplined actions repeated every single day. Consistency is what builds habits, what builds character, what builds success. Intensity burns quickly, but consistency builds momentum, and momentum is unstoppable. If you look at the patterns of those who have achieved anything remarkable, you will see that they are not defined by one big moment of effort, but by thousands of small choices made consistently. The writer who produces a masterpiece is not the one who wrote frantically for 3 days in a row, but the one who wrote every morning for years. The athlete who becomes a champion is not the one who trained harder than everyone else for a single week, but the one who trained steadily day after day, year after year. The business leader who builds a successful company is not the one who had a single burst of motivation to launch something new, but the one who showed up every day to refine, improve, and keep moving forward. Success is not an event, it is a process, and the process is fueled by consistency. The problem with relying on intensity is that it is not sustainable. You may push yourself to the limit for a short period of time, but eventually your energy runs out. Intensity is tied to motivation. It surges when you feel inspired, but it collapses when life gets difficult. Consistency, however, does not ask for overwhelming effort. It only asks that you keep showing up. It asks that you keep putting one foot in front of the other. It asks for persistence, not perfection. And when you commit to consistency, the results over time far outweigh anything intensity could ever deliver. Consider the power of compound growth. If you put in small, steady investments day after day, those investments compound and grow into something massive over time. The same principle applies to your habits, your health, your relationships, your skills, and your dreams. Reading 10 pages a day may not feel like much, but over a year it adds up to thousands of pages, dozens of books, and a completely transformed mind. Doing a short workout every morning may not feel significant, but over a year it changes your body, your strength, your energy. Writing a few lines every day may not look impressive, but over time it becomes an entire book. That is the quiet magic of consistency. It may not look flashy, it may not grab attention, but it builds results that cannot be denied. Intensity, on the other hand, is deceptive. It feels exciting in the moment, but it often leads to burnout. How many people have you seen start the year with big resolutions, diving into extreme diets, impossible workout plans, and unrealistic goals? For a week or two, they are on fire, but then the fire dies. They stop because the plan was unsustainable. They relied on intensity, and intensity let them down. But the person who simply commits to walking every day, eating a little healthier every day, improving just one small habit every day, over time, they achieve what the intense person could not. Because consistency always beats intensity in the long run. The truth is, success is not built in the extraordinary moments, it is built in the ordinary ones. It is not about what you do when the world is watching. It is about what you do when no one is watching. Consistency is forged in the quiet, in the routine, in the boring and unglamorous tasks repeated day after day. That is why it is so difficult for most people. Everyone wants excitement, but few are willing to embrace repetition. Everyone wants big results, but few are willing to do the small actions every day that create those results. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is the discipline to do what matters every single day, no matter how you feel, no matter how small the progress seems. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they will wait until they feel ready to take action, or that they will give it everything they have when the time is right. But the time will never be perfect, and intensity will never sustain you. The only way forward is to start small, to start now, and to stay consistent. The person who starts and keeps going, no matter how slow, will always surpass the person who waits for the perfect moment to go all in. A little progress each day adds up to massive transformation over time. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop seems insignificant, 2 drops don't look like much, but over years the steady drip of water can carve through solid rock. That is the power of consistency. It doesn't require force, it requires persistence. The steady application of effort, no matter how small, eventually shapes the world around you. Your habits work the same way. Your small daily actions are carving your future, shaping your destiny, building your character. Every day you are casting a vote for the person you are becoming. And when you consistently cast votes for discipline, for growth, for progress, you create an identity that no amount of short-term intensity could ever give you. Consistency also teaches you patience. In a world addicted to instant gratification, consistency requires that you trust the process, even when you don't see immediate results. It asks you to show up without reward, to keep going without applause, to believe in the power of the long game. And that is why consistent people succeed. They are willing to do what others are not. They are willing to put in the work day after day without needing instant payoff. They understand that greatness is not about intensity but endurance, not about speed but persistence. The mind loves intensity because it craves novelty and excitement. But the mind also respects consistency because it creates security and trust. When you consistently show up for yourself, you begin to trust yourself. You begin to see yourself as someone who keeps promises, someone who does not quit, someone who can be counted on. That trust builds confidence, and that confidence makes you unstoppable. On the other hand, when you rely only on intensity, you create a cycle of highs and lows. You go all in, then you burn out. You start with passion, then you stop with disappointment, and every time you quit, you weaken your self-trust. You begin to doubt yourself, to wonder if you are capable, to believe that maybe success is not for you. But it is not your ability that is the problem. It is your lack of consistency. Consistency requires humility. It requires you to accept that progress is often slow, that success is built step by step. It requires you to put aside the ego that wants quick wins and instant recognition. But the humble, consistent person always wins in the end. Because while others chase shortcuts and intensity, the consistent person simply keeps building, keeps growing, keeps moving forward. Day after day, they lay bricks, and eventually, those bricks become an unshakable foundation that no one can ignore. Intensity may create inspiration, but consistency creates transformation. Intensity may light a spark, but consistency keeps the fire burning. Intensity may impress people for a moment, but consistency earns respect for a lifetime. And when you embrace consistency, you no longer need to prove yourself with big bursts of effort. You prove yourself every day, with small actions that compound into unstoppable momentum. So, when you think about your goals, ask yourself this: am I chasing intensity, or am I committed to consistency? Am I trying to achieve everything at once, or am I willing to build brick by brick? Am I focused on looking successful in the short term, or becoming successful in the long term? Because the choice you make will determine your future. The intense may shine for a moment, but the consistent will shine forever. The intense may sprint ahead, but the consistent will run the marathon and finish strong. The intense may inspire others for a day, but the consistent will change lives for generations. That is the quiet, powerful truth about success. It does not belong to the most intense, it belongs to the most consistent. It belongs to those who show up, who persist, who stay the course. It belongs to those who understand that consistency beats intensity every single time. There comes a point in life when you realize that success is not about talent alone, not about luck alone, not about intelligence alone. All of those things matter, but they are not the defining factor that separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain average. What truly creates the gap between ordinary and extraordinary is discipline. Discipline is the invisible force that drives you forward when everything else fails. It is the inner power that pushes you beyond excuses, beyond feelings, beyond setbacks. Discipline is the reason some people keep going when others stop. And once you build it, you become unstoppable. To be unstoppable doesn't mean you never face obstacles. It doesn't mean you never get tired, never feel fear, never experience doubt. Being unstoppable means you keep moving forward in spite of those things. It means that no challenge, no failure, no disappointment is strong enough to break your commitment, and the only way to achieve that state of resilience is through discipline. Because discipline is not about emotion, it is about decision. It is about choosing to act in alignment with your vision, no matter what your feelings try to tell you. Motivation might get you out of bed once or twice, but discipline builds the habit of rising early every day. Motivation might help you start a new project, but discipline ensures you finish it. Motivation might push you to go to the gym when you feel like it, but discipline makes you show up even when you don't. That is the difference. Discipline builds consistency, and consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds results. And once you begin to see the results of discipline, you realize you have built a power that nothing can stop. There is a reason that history remembers the disciplined far more than the motivated. The greatest athletes did not become champions because they were motivated. They became champions because they trained day after day, year after year, through pain, fatigue, and sacrifice. The greatest entrepreneurs did not build lasting companies because they were inspired for a few weeks. They built them because they showed up every single day, making disciplined choices that compounded over time. The greatest leaders did not lead because they were always excited. They led because they had the discipline to stay steady when others wavered. Discipline builds credibility, and credibility creates influence. When you live with discipline, you stop being controlled by your moods. You no longer let laziness, fear, or comfort dictate your actions. Instead, your actions are dictated by your commitments. This shift is what makes you unstoppable, because most people are slaves to their mood. Most people only act when they feel like it, and that is why they never achieve consistency. But when you have discipline, you act no matter what. You act when you're tired, when you're uninspired, when you're frustrated. You act because the commitment matters more than the mood, and that mindset gives you an advantage that few people will ever have. Discipline is the ability to play the long game. It allows you to stay focused on the destination, even when the journey feels endless. It teaches you to delay gratification, to put in work today for results that may not come until tomorrow, next year, or even a decade from now. And this ability to stay committed over the long haul is exactly why disciplined people eventually surpass everyone else. The motivated may sprint ahead for a while, but they will stop when the feelings fade. The disciplined person may move slower, but they never stop. And because they never stop, they eventually win. When you develop discipline, you also develop resilience. Discipline trains you to endure discomfort, to embrace struggle, to push through resistance. And as you do, you become stronger, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You stop running from challenges and start facing them head on. You stop avoiding failure and start learning from it. You stop fearing rejection and start using it as fuel. Discipline gives you the mental toughness to handle whatever life throws at you, and that toughness makes you unstoppable. Imagine a mountain climber facing the harshest conditions. The air is thin, the weather is brutal, the body is tired. At that point, motivation means nothing. What carries the climber upward is discipline, the discipline to take one more step, and then another, and then another. That is life. We all face mountains, we all face conditions that test us. Those who rely only on motivation give up halfway. Those who rely on discipline keep climbing, and eventually they reach the peak. Discipline also breeds freedom. It may sound strange because discipline is often associated with restriction, with sacrifice, with saying no. But the truth is, discipline liberates you from chaos. It gives you control over your habits, your time, your choices. Without discipline, you are a prisoner to your impulses. You procrastinate, you make excuses, you waste opportunities. But with discipline, you take control of your destiny. You choose how to spend your time. You choose how to shape your future. You create structure that allows you to focus on what truly matters. And that freedom, the freedom to live life on your terms, is one of the greatest gifts discipline gives you. To become unstoppable, you must understand that discipline is not something you are born with, it is something you build. It is like a muscle, and the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you choose effort over excuse, you strengthen your discipline. And over time, it becomes second nature. It becomes who you are. At that point, discipline is no longer something you do. It is something you embody. And when discipline becomes your identity, nothing can stand in your way. Discipline also teaches you to focus on what you can control. You cannot control the economy, the weather, or the actions of others. But you can control your own effort, your own habits, your own discipline. And when you consistently control those things, you create stability in an unstable world. Others may be distracted, discouraged, or derailed by circumstances, but you stay the course. You keep moving forward, and that steady progress, no matter what happens around you, makes you unstoppable. Most people give up not because their goals are impossible, but because they lack the discipline to endure the process. They want the reward without the work, the result without the sacrifice. But the disciplined know that success demands a price, and they are willing to pay it. They are willing to wake up earlier, to stay up later, to put in the extra hours, to keep going when others quit. That willingness to pay the price is what makes the disciplined unstoppable. Because once you accept the cost of greatness, nothing can scare you away from it. Discipline also protects you from yourself. It protects you from the part of your mind that seeks comfort, that resists change, that wants the easy path. It silences the voice that says, "I'll do it tomorrow," and replaces it with the voice that says, "Do it now." It eliminates the option of quitting because discipline does not negotiate. It does not ask, "Do you feel like it?" It tells you, "This is what you must do." And when you live with that kind of certainty, you no longer waste energy debating or hesitating. You simply act. That is the power of discipline. It removes doubt and replaces it with determination. There is an old saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But what really beats talent is discipline. Because talent is a gift, but discipline is a choice. Talent may open the door, but discipline keeps you inside the room. Talent may get you noticed, but discipline gets you respected. Talent may get you started, but discipline gets you finished. Talent fades without discipline, but discipline will carry even the most ordinary person to extraordinary heights. That is why the world is full of talented people who never lived up to their potential, because they lacked discipline. But the disciplined, no matter their starting point, always rise. To be unstoppable, you must train yourself to embrace discipline not as a burden, but as a blessing. It is not something that restricts you. It is something that empowers you. It is not something that takes from you. It is something that gives to you. Every moment of discipline you practice brings you closer to the life you desire. Every act of discipline is a vote for your future self. And when you cast enough votes, your future becomes unstoppable. So the choice is clear. You can live by motivation, waiting for the right feeling, the right mood, the right inspiration. Or you can live by discipline, acting no matter what, showing up every day, committing to the process. One path leaves you stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. The other path makes you relentless, consistent, and unstoppable. And once you taste what discipline can create in your life, you will never go back to relying on motivation again. Because you will know that discipline is the ultimate power, the secret weapon, the unshakable force that makes you truly unstoppable in life.